If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. But a lot of votes came in late.
We love Trump! We love Trump!
I've been talking about mail-in voting for a long time. It's really destroyed our system. It's a corrupt system.
Count the votes! Count the votes!
It's amazing how those mail-in ballots are so one-sided, too. I know that it's supposed to be to the advantage of the Democrats, but in all cases, they're so one-sided.
Donald Trump won, and they're in there cheating.
Media polling was election interference. Fake polls were designed to keep our voters at home, create the illusion of momentum for Mr. Biden. They were what's called suppression polls. Everyone knows that now.
We ain't gonna take it no more!
There are now only a few states yet to be decided in the presidential race. The voting apparatus of those states are run in all cases by Democrats. We were winning in all the key locations by a lot, actually. And then our numbers started miraculously getting whittled away in secret.
Everything was planned out. Nobody needs to tell me. I know it.
Who by?
By the Democrats.
In Georgia, the votes should be in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day. Poll workers in Michigan were duplicating ballots. But when our observers attempted to challenge the activity, those poll workers jumped in front of the volunteers to block their view so that they couldn't see what they were doing. In Pennsylvania, partisan Democrats have allowed ballots in the state to be received 3 days after the election. And we think much more than that.
Okay, here we are again in the unusual position of not only interrupting the President of the United States, but correcting the President of the United States.
This is a complete farce and a travesty.
Lie after lie after lie about the election being stolen.
It's nonsensical.
No evidence.
Do you have a fact check?
Yes, we don't have any indication that there are any illegal votes out there.
He asked, why are the vote-by-mail ballots so overwhelmingly in favor of Joe Biden? We all know the answer. It's because the president told his supporters not to vote by mail.
Telling his voters, do not vote early.
Every single election analyst was shouting from the rooftops before the election that that's exactly what was going to happen, that in-person voting was going to be counted first. It would make it look like the president was ahead, but then as you started counting the mail-in ballots, that it could start to shift.
They're trying to steal an election.
We love the truth, justice, and the American way.
There's been folks that are showing up out of nowhere. Where in the hell did that come from?
Our Constitution and our electoral process is being ripped to shreds.
If this was going on in a third world country, they would be screaming to the high heavens.
Protect our vote! Protect our vote! It's a pandemic, and these dummies are out here trying to interfere with a federal election. They are the terrorists. This is terrorism.
We think we will win the election very easily. We think there's going to be a lot of litigation because we have so much evidence, so much proof. We can't be disgraced by having something like this happen.
It's not true. It's ugly. It's frankly pathetic.
It's a setup. He set the country up.
We see him like an obese turtle on his back, flailing in the hot sun, realizing his time is over.
Mr. President, you being a sore loser. USA! 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 USA!
Well, Michael Williams joins us now from Washington. Michael, really disturbing moments there from the last 24 hours. Are you concerned about the state of your country right now?
Yeah, I think everyone who's here is concerned about the state of the country, no matter which side you're on. You're looking at this election process, which, as I always say, I always used to celebrate the election process because it's the crown jewel of democracy. Choosing peacefully who's going to lead a country is just such a noble thing. And this election and this man, this president, Donald Trump in particular, have turned it into something perverse. In his speech last night, where he talks about legal ballots and not legal votes and telling lie after lie after lie. What he's basically doing is just setting fire to the entire democracy so that his cult-like followers can light their tiki torches on it. And I do. It's hard not to take it personally. You try to maintain a distance as a journalist and watch this and examine it. But I think everyone has some skin in the game when you live here, and it's very, very disturbing to watch.
Michael, you talk about him setting fire to the democracy over there. Do you think it is going to have a lasting effect on what America's known for, one of the greatest democracies on earth?
Yes. Look, it's interesting because, in our whole Pledge of Allegiance, there's the phrase that goes, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I always thought that indivisible word was a key, a linchpin. And it clearly is not now indivisible. We are clearly divided, so tribal, so polarized. And this has happened before. Obviously, we've had a civil war. So when everyone says it can't get worse, well, it can get worse because we're not in a shooting war side on side yet. But in past times, you've had, especially since the Civil War, and including Abraham Lincoln, you have had people at the top of the democracy who are aiming for healing, who are aiming for resolution, who are aiming for the United States of America, a more perfect union. And now you have a leader who's doing the exact opposite for his own personal power. It remains to be seen if any democracy can withstand that. I don't know if there's a template for someone who's taken a sledgehammer to a democracy and then been able to put it back, someone else be able to put it back together. This all remains to be seen.
Well, Michael, we've seen reports of police investigating a thwarted attack on the Pennsylvania Convention Centre where votes are being counted. What can you tell us about that?
Well, there was a credible report of a planned attack on the Philadelphia Convention Center where votes are being counted in Philadelphia, a great number of the votes, and very likely the votes that are going to decide whether or not Joe Biden or Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania. And there was a credible threat of an attack on that by some Trump supporters. There's no reports whether weapons were found there or not. But look, the threat of violence is looming everywhere. When you have these people who are showing up with rifles, guns, all sorts of firearms at polling places and talking about election fraud and being the flames being fanned by the president. Look, the fool to firearm ratio in the United States is approximately 1-to-1. And, when you have a president who is leading them and invoking them to violence, yeah, it's not going to be a surprise if something like that happens.
All right, Michael, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.